Now, while you're watching the television this morning, chances are you may also be texting, you might be surfing the net, you might be making a phone call, multitasking.
Yeah, all four at the same time, you never know.
Yep.
The media regulator Ofcom says we now spend nearly half of our waking hours accessing media of some sort, and often multitasking. There's a word you never used 10 years ago. Author Fletcher and broadcaster Jenny Trent Hughes are with us. Not texting, just
Who says?
But you are a multimedia person. Mal, you're not, are you?
Oh yes, I use it, but I'm not a Luddite, but I think we need to discipline our use of it. You know, we're finding today, for example, that people are facing what psychologists call AP, which is absent presence, especially young people. You know, you're sitting in a room, you're surrounded by people, but you're digitally disconnected from the real world while you're texting or tweeting or Facebook chatting with your friends. And 25% of young people now say that they suffer some kind of withdrawal anxiety if they're separated from their mobile phone for any length of time. So I think we don't want to wind the clock back, but we do need to de-gadgetize some of our space.
Jenny, you'll recognise
Define
this.
young people.
Well, I don't know. It says here, younger people cram nearly 5 hours of media usage into just under 2 hours a day. So in other words, they are watching the television with their laptops on.
I'll tell you a great story. I came back from holiday yesterday and I'm in the back seat of the taxi with my son, and all of a sudden my phone beeps and I think, God, who knows I'm back already? And this is 5:30 in the morning, and I look, and it's my son who is sitting next to me, and he's texting me. And I said, you're joking, right? And he just turned his head away, and then he just kept, he sent me like 6 texts in a row, and he's sitting right next to me. Yes, the multitasking thing drives me crazy, actually, and I tried to say, okay, now look, one thing at a time, because he'll have the headphones on listening to music while he's Facebook chatting, while the television is on, you know, and the computer's beeping, and it's just driving me crazy.
What is it that is sucking particularly young people in, though, and holding them there in this net, because they are drawn to it?
Do you remember when we used to go out, not together,
no,
but when we used to go out, when we used to go out and dance all night? Why did we do it? We did it because it put us in a certain emotional state, it created all sorts of endorphins, blah, 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 and a lot of that is what happens with them.
But Mal, is this actually equipping younger people with better ways of dealing with the modern world than perhaps we had? The very fact that they can do 4 or 5 things at once and say they're on top of them all.
Well, it does open up great opportunities for talking to anyone at any time, anywhere in the world. And in an age of globalization, that's a good thing. But there's a thing now called constant partial attention, which means we spend so much time referencing many screens at once, skipping from one internet site to another, that we have trouble focusing, as you say, Jenny, on one thing at a time. And that ought to be a concern. By the way, multitasking has been shown in studies to be very good in short bursts, but over longer periods it actually reduces productivity and leads to more mistakes. So again, I think we just need to discipline.
We now reach a stage where it seems to be acceptable to take and send text messages while you're having a meal.
Well, it's funny because I think that as a parent, you really do have to have some ground rules. And like when we went on holiday, I said to my son, right, the laptop is staying home. The phone is not going to be on at the beach. You're not going to be sitting there all day doing this, that, or the other. He's 15. And he was fine. But I took him out recently with a friend who's a managing director of a big Japanese bank. And I said, okay, now he's going to explain to you why having a short attention span is not good. And it turns out that now it's very good in certain instances because, see, as women, we've always multitasked. Men are just catching up with us now. They're multitasking in gadgets. We multitask in the kitchen, in the farmyard with the kids.
You see, well, I've had this argument with my children, and you've probably had it with yours as well, which is just put that down for a sec and listen to what I'm saying, or concentrate on what you're doing and be fully present in whatever you're doing. And their argument is that they are far better equipped to deal with all these things at the same time than we ever were, and they are able to retain all the information.
Well, there's some truth in the fact that, you know, when you're under the age of about 20, your brain works slightly differently anyway. There's a lot of hormonal things going on that change as you get older. So concentration does change with age. But the other point that it's important, I think, is that it's very important that kids learn to eyeball contact, because it's part of what makes us uniquely human, is the ability to read facial expressions, to get a sense of what the other person's feeling, to empathize. None of that really can be learned via cyberspace, via
Oh, they're Skyping though. Yeah. They're Skyping, so they're looking at each other. It is a worry, because I worry about the soul and the sort of whole emotional development. So yes, you can do 50 things at a time, but like you're saying, can you connect with a person in real life?
There's one cure which you can enforce to stop the multitasking quite so much. You know what it is?
Bribery.
Now you switch off the power to the Wi-Fi box. And
That works.
gets
But
them
then
back.
how
But
do
you've got
we
the phone.
survive?
You've still
Well,
got
no, you have to give a little bit up. You have to give a little bit up yourself. You know, just for an hour or so, just get them back.
No, I'm not.
You see, there you are. Thank you both very much for making so much eye contact with us as well.
Pleasure.
The time is 7:45. This is Breakfast from BBC News.